Well, here's something I didn't expect to say this week. Marquez Callaway is back with the New Orleans Saints. They just signed him. We'll talk about it right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Houdat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosvoglu, and as always, we're brought to you by Scott Fickner, Injury Lawyers, and by Crystal, how New Orleans does flavor. The Saints made an addition to their wide receiver room this Thursday, adding Marquez Callaway, who many know he's a Saints legend. And when I say someone's a Saints legend, 99.9% of the time, I'm being a sarcastic asshole. So that falls in this category for Callaway. But let's talk about this move for the Saints and let's see where he fits into the equation because it's interesting. So for New Orleans, about a couple of days ago, you probably don't think about needing wide receiver depth, and not saying you feel great about your depth chart, but you feel like there's bodies there. And then yesterday, when it comes to practice, you don't have Bub Means, you don't have Cedric Wilson, you don't have Equanimous St. Brown, who all missed Wednesday's practice. So there is an opening there on the wide receiver depth chart. And with Callaway, look, he's not going to, come in and light up the room. Although I do think he might light up the preseason because there are few players who light up the preseason like Callaway does. He gives you a familiar face. And yes, he's not from the Clint Kubiak offense. I understand that. But he's worked with Dennis Allen, who's the head coach. And part of being a head coach is making sure you have the right personalities in the building. And since there is familiarity there, they know how Callaway works. They probably feel comfortable with bringing him in, giving him a shot here to maybe make the roster on a wide receiver room that's not that crowded at the moment. There's not a lot of convincing options. Outside of Olave and Shaheed, it's a lot of hoping and waiting to see if someone will take the next step. We'd like A.T. Perry to take the next step. We have to see. We love what we're seeing and hearing about Mason Tipton, but he's got to go out there and play in the preseason and prove that it carries over. So a lot of question marks. You add Callaway, who, look, his Saints tenure was interesting. Started off with a lot of promise, then kind of fizzled out. Spends 2023 jumping around, briefly with the Broncos, briefly with the Raiders. Then he signed with the Steelers this past January, and they just released him recently. So it didn't take long for him to find a new home and a home that he's familiar with. So that works out for Callaway. Again, I'm not expecting a lot from this move, but I think for the Saints, if you're looking for someone to just bring in as a camp body right now and give you a little bit of depth, that's fine. The way I look at it is if we get to the Saints season and they are relying on Callaway to make plays, then you're screwed, right? If you ever get to that point, you're screwed. So for now, camp body has familiarity, might make a couple of ridiculous catches in the preseason that make you just your jaw drop and go, what the fuck did I just witness? Yeah, sign me up. So Callaway return to the Saints, I'm cool with it, but I'm curious to know what you guys have to think about this move. Are you happy about it? Are you kind of annoyed that they went with a familiar face in Callaway? Are you indifferent about it? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you. And as always, guys, if you like this video and you want more content from the future, make sure to subscribe to Boo Crew Media's YouTube page. Hit the notification bell so you get alerted for new videos like this. And we'll be back with new Saints content here on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Houdat Nation.